Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 40. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we finally made it to the midlife episode.
We did. We're 40.
Does that mean we're only doing 80 of these and we're done? Limited edition run?
No, I'm going to live forever. I'm immortal.
I've heard you call another M word before.
Yeah.
Starts off kind of similar.
Thanks.
So how was your vacation at the Resort of Doom?
Oh, I hate vacations. I just hate vacations. I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy being gone. I like going places. I guess I should rephrase it. I hate vacations like that.
Where you're just, the point is to go and do nothing?
Yes. Or do something that I don't particularly enjoy. I hate resorts with a passion. I hate a resort.
So your ideal vacation would be a cruise that stops at a resort for 3 days?
No, I hate that. That would be miserable. Okay, my wife and I have this, not argument, but discussion all the time. She loves things like that. I always tell her I hate going to tourist places.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely hate them. Her argument, and I understand her argument, but it still doesn't change my perspective on it. I hate going to a place where it's manufactured things set up purely to draw people in. Her argument is, but they set things up and for people to come and do things so that they enjoy their time there. And I understand that, but I don't enjoy that. I enjoy going to ride places, to see different things. I want to see what that area of the country or that whatever has to offer that they're not manufacturing to try and like do the smoke and mirrors and pony tricks to make it look neat for me.
Sure.
So that's not what I particularly enjoy. I didn't like it. I wanted to get back. I was ready to be back because my wife enjoys sitting by the pool. I hate that. It just chews at me.
Yeah, you don't sit still very well at all.
So we went, it was a nice resort. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing bad about the place. But like they have an indoor water park. It's indoor and outdoor. But the indoor part is really nice, but it's all like this giant, thick, clear plastic see-through roof, which made it a greenhouse.
Ooh.
It was 100 degrees there that day.
Nice.
When you went from inside the greenhouse-like space to outside, 100 degrees felt cold. It had to be 120 in there.
That's insane.
It was nuts. I was like, half day of this and I'm out. Y'all can stay in here, hang out by the pool. I'm going back to the condo thing.
Yeah, I'm not a hot weather person, so
yeah.
No.
So that wasn't for me. It was neat because we rode they're also a snow skiing place in the winter. And so we got to ride the chairlift up to the top of the mountain.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, where is this going?
And
screen down the green.
Kind of hike up to the top of this overlook. And that was neat. You can see a long way. It's Virginia, lots of mountains and stuff. So that was neat. But a lot of sitting around, and I don't sit around well, and a lot of pool stuff, and I don't do pool things. Just not my idea of fun. So,
but you're home now.
I'm home.
And you're doing stuff, which usually makes you happy. We'll get into what you're doing here in a little bit.
I'm always doing something.
Yes.
So how was your vacation? Because you went just not long after me.
I went camping.
Yeah.
So I think the reason I like camping is I like being outdoors, genuinely love being outdoors. But there's always something to do. Even on a lazy day, there's always something that needs done. And that's why a lot of people think camping sounds horrible, because it's not room service. It's not just sitting there and you order food and it shows up.
Yeah.
You're making food. You're cooking it.
Yeah.
There's maintenance items that you have to do if you want to go camping on a kind of a daily basis. So some of it is routine. You're just moving that routine to a different location. But I think that's part of what I like about it, because there is downtime. There is time where I get to, go check different stuff out. We got to see some really cool, waterfalls that were along some hiking trails, got out about and did that. did a train tour up and down, up basically and around a mountain and back down, because it was an old style. They call it a loop, basically. Okay. So you can't just go up a mountain. It's a 2% grade if you try and go straight up the mountain. 2% doesn't sound like much if you're just towing a trailer with a pickup truck, but to a train,
that's a ton.
That's murder.
Yeah, because it's steel wheels on a steel track.
Yeah. And so you know, back in the steam engine days, you try and hitch up 80 freight cars behind that, and no, not happening.
Yeah.
So they originally had a series of switchbacks that were really slow. And so what they ended up doing was they put a loop. So it just goes around in a spiral. Up, yeah. And so you actually go underneath the trestle, and then later on you're going up around it. And if the train's long enough, you can watch yourself going underneath it. Now, this train was only 5 or 6 cars long.
So not anyway near long enough.
Touristy thing. But it was really neat. The guy did a really good job. He was the, quote unquote conductor.
Yeah.
But he did a really good job of giving the history of the line and some of the ghost towns he went by, which by ghost town they meant like a clearing where a town used to be.
Okay.
There's nothing there. If you went digging, you might be able to find, some artifacts or something, but there's no buildings left or anything.
Yeah, okay.
But it was neat just to get some history of the area that we were camping in. And so we did that. We did a few other things. So every day there was something going on, but there was also downtime. So it was, it was perfect. And it wasn't that hot because we were up in the Cherokee National Forest. Not super high in elevation, maybe 15 to 1,700 feet. Mm-hmm. But it's enough that daytime highs were like in the mid-80s.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it really wasn't bad.
See, I had never been out to Washington, D.C., and where we were only about 2.5 hours from D.C.
Ah.
So, common sense says, I'm this far out, I'm 9 hours and some change from home, and I'm only 2.5 hours from D.C., we should go to D.C. for the day.
Sure.
Yeah, well, we picked the day that it was 106 degrees actual temperature in D.C.
And there's no way to get away. It's a concrete palace.
Oh, yeah.
So you're getting it from the ground coming back up.
Yeah. I just running sweat. Walk outside for 2 minutes, shirt soaked.
Yeah. Now, well, today it's about 92 here.
Yeah.
But just being downtown Indy, walking up to my car in that concrete parking garage, I get in the car and it reads 104.
Yeah.
Because there's just concrete absorbing heat and throwing it back at you. So yeah, the city, no fun.
Yeah. So I did that.
So you got to see the center of corruption. I mean, our government.
Yes, I did. Now, it was good. There's some neat stuff we saw. My wife asked, she said, well, do you want to go back sometime? Because, we only spent like the middle part of the day there. So we didn't get to see everything, obviously. And she says, well, would you want to go back sometime? I said, maybe during a zombie apocalypse when all the people are gone.
The hardest part will be the zombie apocalypse will be pretending I'm not excited.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. It was neat. It was neat to see. No real desire to go back. I don't like people that much, and there's lots of them there.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember last time I was there. It's probably high school. We did a senior trip. I was there a couple times when I was in high school. Once for it was a big
once
men's
in your
retreat.
First junior year and once on your second junior year. Is that what you're telling me?
It was senior year. I repeated. No. It was once for a men's event out there. Stand in the Gap, I think it was. It was kind of a popular big men's event, church event back in the 90s. And once for our senior trip, and I don't think I've been back since. But yeah, my recollections were it was kind of neat. It wasn't real hot when I was there, so that part wasn't as miserable. Plus, it was an excuse to not be in school for the week. You were out there, but it was school. So that part was pretty cool, but I don't know. I'm a history nerd, so I'd probably appreciate more of it now, but just to be there, it's hard to take in anything meaningful in a day there.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, I'll tell you what I did take away from there. A very high food bill. One meal. So there's 4 people in my family. I have a son, a daughter, and me and my wife. You know this, but this is for everybody else. So we were at one of the Smithsonian museums, the American history one. And so we were going to eat lunch because it was that time and, we hadn't eaten yet. So 4 burgers, 4 fries, and 4 bottled waters. Take a guess at the price.
Translate that into DC, and I can't remember if they have special taxes or not. I think they do. Like probably $60.
$70.
Holy crap, dude. That's insane. I ate at a really nice place and we had alcohol and we didn't spend that much.
I know. And these burgers were not good. I mean, they were, they were edible, but they weren't like big, nice burgers. They
Came
were
out of the back of a Gordon food service truck.
Yep, exactly what it was, I'm sure. It was like, I mean, it's not a deal breaker for my wife and I. We do okay. But still, it's like, how would someone who's making $30,000 a year, how do you come to a place like that and live for a week? You're just going to starve and die.
Yeah. Should have come camping with me.
I would have enjoyed it.
Camping's always better.
Yeah, I agree. Gonna have to do more camping.
Yes.
The wife doesn't like camping that much, so.
When's the last time she's been camping? Has she ever been camping?
No. I'm trying.
She doesn't know. She doesn't like it.
Oh, she doesn't like dirt. She doesn't like any of that. So I'm trying to
How about
like
giant insects? Because we had a lot of those down there.
No, she doesn't like those. So what I'm trying to do is the shop bought a Winnebago RV. And I'm like, okay, so if I get a satellite set up in there, like a mobile satellite thing.
So if you make it home, but not home.
She'll be, then she'll be okay going and I'll get to camp and she'll be okay with it.
Well, with the Winnebago, we can put a class 4 hitch on the back of that sucker. You can hitch the trailer up and you could take.
I can drag you guys along.
Exactly.
Or
you could take the Acre Shaker with you.
Or both.
And then I'll just take my vehicle and my pop-up and we'll just go.
I'm great with that.
Which it sounds stupid. I've had all sorts of campers and the last one was huge.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was bigger than the Winnebago.
Yeah.
And I'm back to a pop-up because honestly, I like the sense that I'm in a tent.
Yeah.
It's nice when it's raining because it did rain a lot when we were there. It's nice to not be on the ground when it's raining.
Yeah.
But short of that, it's not like a ton of luxury in there. I mean, when it's raining, you're very keenly aware of it because there's just canvas between you and the outside world. But I just like the sense that I'm in a tent better. I've always enjoyed it more. So I'm kind of glad to be back to it.
I will say I've stayed with Steve in his toy hauler once and, spent some time in it during the races and stuff like that. And then yours. At the races, it's much nicer being in an actual camper, like with walls.
Oh, yeah, because there's so much craziness going on.
Yeah, it kind of gives you your own private space, and you can take a nice warm shower, and it's like, leave me alone for a little bit.
I do have the Cheater pop-up. This one actually has a shower in it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's Popzilla. It's pretty, I think weighs like a lot more than you think it would. When I hitched it up, I was like, man, this thing's a brick.
Yeah.
But no, we had a good time. I wasn't quite ready to come home, which is unusual for me, but it was time.
Yeah.
It just makes me want to go again now, so I'm already like planning the next outing.
Hold on, I have to answer my phone. Go ahead and talk without
This
me.
is a live podcast.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Hello.
He's actually answering his phone. I thought he was messing with me. So remember, folks, when we said this was all like raw and unedited, this is living proof that such is the case.
That was my wife. She says, what are you doing? We're doing the podcast. What do you need? Well, I don't know. I was just calling to talk to you. I didn't know it started yet. Yes, it's going. Okay.
Nope, we're not editing that out. That stays. It's part of the podcast.
That's fine. It can be there. It is what it is. Where were we? You got your vacation in. I got my vacation in, right?
Yep. Now it's back to the grind. However, I know part of why you were anxious to get back.
Racings?
Well, there's some racings, and we'll get into my MWXC weekend that you missed because you were already on vacation when it happened, and it was interesting.
We'll get to that.
But you were anxious to get back because the Acre Shaker had parts waiting.
It did. My blow-off valve showed up. And, well, it had another
Was it an
part.
actual blow-off valve this time?
It was. It actually was a real
legitimate...
legitimate...
a handful of cable clamps?
No, it was a legitimate blow-off valve. Razor Aid blow-off valve, which... everything UTV or UTV everything, something like that. I always get it backwards. But they're also the same company who makes this blow-off valve, who is Razor Aid. They got me the blow-off valve, and it was waiting here on Friday. I had already left, but it is what it is. And so I got back and put it on.
That was probably burning a hole in your mind the entire week, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was driving me batty. It's like, The blow-off valve is sitting there waiting on me to put it in, and I can't. I'm 9 hours away.
I probably wasn't quite as excited, but Jenny's lower control arms for the Expedition showed up, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, like, I really want to get this stupid truck back together.
Yeah.
That's more necessity and less fun, though.
Yeah, mine was fun. But we did put out a video on how to put on a blow-off valve. It's easy. I mean, easy.
Yeah.
Can you turn a screwdriver?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's really not much to it. And I still need to edit the Spangs video to get the lower control arms and the lower radius rods.
Yeah.
And we'll get that done yet this week and get that out. So there'll be a lot of new useless information coming out from us.
Yeah.
But there was something even more exciting than a blow-off valve that Sir Steve gave me.
Yeah, and that's in. I put it in last night.
So
I just
Chad got
it
himself
last
a
night.
Stage 3 Albatuned ECU. And he said it adds at least 2 horsepower.
It adds more than 2. It's enough to where at 60 miles an hour, if I'm still on the throttle pretty hard, it's smoking the belt.
So
it's moving in there.
So that's going to necessitate a Bikeman Performance clutch kit.
Already on its way. It'll be here Wednesday.
And a new non-glazed belt.
Also on its way. Should be here, I think, Wednesday.
You didn't run down to O'Reilly and get a $30 Gates?
No, I got a brand new Polaris OEM.
That's
to
a good
the tune
thing.
of about $150.
And the next upgrade actually makes even more sense now because of all that. Click 6 harnesses.
Yes, they're on their way also.
That makes a lot of sense given all that.
I'm doing stupider things faster now.
So stock, you're 168 horse at the crank, right?
Correct.
So this probably, with the blow-off valve and all that goodies, you're probably pushing 200 plus at the crank.
Getting, right about there.
Nice.
So it's fun.
I need to go right in it. I haven't been in it yet because I didn't get back till, it was a little earlier than this, but I didn't get to your house to drop your truck back off until, 9:15, 9:20 last night?
Something like that.
So,
And you brought me the ECU, and then basically as soon as you left, I'm like,
you're in the
chuck
garage.
that sucker in.
I knew you weren't waiting.
Take it for a ride. My wife's asking, what are you doing out there? Nothing. Just
Be gone.
checking stuff. Checking how that new ECU does.
That's awesome. For all that high-speed trail riding.
Dude, there are black marks in front of my house.
You just want new tires.
It's
If
gonna,
they're bulge, you can't argue, right?
they're wore out. What can I tell you? They put cheap tires on them from the factory. There's black marks going from my house out of my parents' drive and out of my brother's drive.
That's awesome.
So the state trooper, and he's Officer Perry, but his son listens to the show, so he'll get a chuckle out of this too. He comes out because he had to inspect my side-by-side because it was bought out of state, and I was getting it registered to drive on the roads.
Oh, yeah, you got your tags.
Yeah. So, and we had talked about that, but I can't drive it on state roads, like highways. I kind of live on a state road. So
You can drive it to the end of your driveway.
yes, I can. So Trooper Perry was eyeing the black marks in front of the house. He asked my dad, who was with him when he did the inspection, because my dad brought him over here to let him in. I was at work. And he was eyeing the black marks, and I don't think he really bought that it wasn't from that. I didn't expect him to either, but come on.
Tell him it was from Josh's supercharged Mustang project.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't run notwithstanding.
He bought a Cadillac Brougham.
What?
He just bought it because it's cheap at the auction. He's been doing burnouts up and down the
Is
driveway.
that what that thing was? I saw it sitting in his driveway.
He's just using it to do burnouts until the
I thought
tires
maybe
go
a
away.
really old relative had, passed away.
No, basically he's just keeping it long enough until the tires pop, and then he'll get rid of it.
My buddy Langley used to go down to the junkyard and buy the smallest donut spares they could find.
Yeah.
And put them on both, depending on the car, either both fronts or both rears, just so they could smoke them because they have no traction. They're only, 2 inches wide, and they just destroy them until they threw them off the rim. Then they'd throw another one on, It's like we go to the junkyard, buy all of them we could for like $5 a piece and just destroy them.
I saw a guy who he aired out, broke down the beads on 2 tires, filled them with water, and then did burnouts. They lasted amazingly long because the air doesn't heat up and it's not outward pressure pushing on it, and the water is actually keeping it cooler. They only end up letting go when all the cords have been spun through, like the metal cords even have been spun through.
So once the Razor tires are a little more bald, you're saying?
Maybe.
Might be a new Eminent Performance video on the way.
Yay, videos. I got enough tires laying around. I need to dispose of them in some way, form, or fashion.
You are being environmentally, unsafe by keeping those all in your garage.
I need to get rid of
those
some
tires are outgassing, and they are putting your family at risk.
Oh, need to get rid of them.
You definitely do.
Let's let them gas out somewhere in the open with smoky bits.
I'm just imagining destroying a set of one of the sets of paddles you have in there.
I got a whole nother set of 14-inch tires. Now, the wheels won't fit, but I need to just find a set of Polaris wheels that I can use for burnouts.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If I can find a set that's better than mine, I'll just use my factory ones for burnouts. I need a tire changing machine.
I was going to say, I think that's the next step. I'm amazed your family doesn't have one. You guys are, as a crew, not terribly easy on tires.
You don't think?
No. No, you don't think.
I used to go down to Deals Gap, and I go through at least a set of tires in a weekend in 2 days.
I always liked the fact that your bikes never had tread on the sides.
No, it was the edges all worn off.
It makes me really annoyed when I see somebody on a crotch rocket that just has a big fat, the strip in the middle is completely bald. Like the bike would probably stand up without a kickstand.
Yeah.
And then there's still the rubber tits on the outside of it because they have never even come close to knocking them off.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. I'm not as aggressive rider as you are, but I find the hard parts on my bikes.
I round over the edges on the corners.
You rip exhausts off.
I have done that, yes. We better move on.
I don't know. It's the post-vacation show. Just for your edification, listeners and viewers at home, we're recording this on Monday night to release tomorrow morning, so it's going to be slightly delayed because I still have to upload it. So we're just pontificating based on no information. But for a vacation week when we basically had no contact, because I had no cell phone signal.
Yeah.
I'd come down into town. I found one place that had free Wi-Fi, and every once in a while I'd shoot a few messages out, and then it was
back
signal again.
To the woods.
Oh, it was glorious, man. I thought I'd have internet withdrawals. It was magical. I didn't want to turn my phone back on.
Oh, I would be fine without it. But only if I was doing something I like camping.
So much stuff happened while we were gone. So one of the other things that happened is I've got a 2003 Honda 400EX that I had sort of blown up at the dunes. We talked about that before.
Sort of blown up. You put like 2 cups of sand through the motor.
It might have done some damage. Little bits. Well, got to find out how much. I was, honestly, I'm waist deep in projects. I wasn't going to get to this thing for another year, probably. Just being realistic about it. And so I decided just to sell the thing. And I put it up on Facebook, and one of the racers there at MWXC, David King, shoots me a message and says, look, it's probably a fairly easy rebuild. I could do that between races. I'd just hate to see you get rid of it. He's a big-time quad rider.
And he's a 400EX fan.
Oh, yeah.
Super fan.
He's built some really nasty machines. In fact, he's built one machine that was 15-to-1 compression, obviously only ran on race gas, would kiss triple digits.
Yeah.
The race owner actually had to ask him to keep it geared down for safety reasons.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. And it was not a 400 either when he was done.
No.
I think it was at least a 426.
Yeah. So
he knows how to build a mean 400 if he wants to. But he was really gracious with me, and I said, well, what do you charge me to go ahead and rebuild this thing? And the price he shot me was so low, I almost laughed out loud. I had to read it twice. Just being a really gracious guy. He's like, look, man, I'm not trying to make money. I'll sell you parts for it at my discount because he's a sponsored racer. And a very low price to rebuild the whole thing. He's like, he goes, you wouldn't be interested, or you wouldn't have any involvement in the sport if you weren't interested. You wouldn't be doing announcing. You wouldn't own a quad. you wouldn't be doing the things you're doing, the podcast, all that stuff. So he's like, I just want to keep your knuckles in the wind, man.
Good.
Well, he's kind of gone gonzo on this thing, evidently. In fact, I don't even know the full extent of it yet.
I do.
Chad does. What I do know is he was able to save the cylinder. The piston itself was just, the skirt was mangled and it was pretty bad shape. The head was better than I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it dropped the valve, but it didn't. So he's rebuilt it. Stock's 9-1. He's rebuilt it with an 11-1, as far as I know. Maybe that's changed too. And so it's got a little extra oomph, and he's gone gonzo cleaning parts.
Yeah.
I mean, the engine's going to look beautiful, but I don't even know everything that's being done to it at this point. Chad does.
I can't tell anybody anything yet.
So probably in the next podcast, you'll find out, because if all goes well, I think he'll be done with it by the end of this week, and probably this weekend I'll go pick it up and settle up with him on parts and, labor and all that. But it sounds like it's going to be a pretty sweet machine.
It should be fun.
So I'm really legitimately excited to have that back.
I'm sure you'll let me ride around a little bit, because I have not been on a 400EX in a long time.
They're great quads.
I loved them. I always loved those machines.
Okay, the 450s, you can do more with them. They're water cooled. You can get nastier with them, but you have to wring their necks a little bit. They like to rev more. The 400s were they had great mid-range torque. You could be in the wrong gear and they just grunt you out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I always loved them for a tight woods machine. They were great.
Yeah, they're a great machine.
And part of it's nostalgia. I mean, I had one or two back in the day, and, I always liked them. It's been years since I've really been on one to ride hard, and yours I'm not going to ride hard either, but it's just one of those things. The nostalgia in my mind, they were amazing machines. Now, they were, top of their class back then.
Oh, sure.
But I'm sure I just want to ride one again, because it's been years, really. I mean, I rode yours for like 2 minutes around a yard or something, but
yeah,
at your house when you were up north.
And honestly, it wasn't really in great shape then. I just slammed it back together to get it ready for that trip. So, I mean, it wasn't clean. It wasn't running particularly well. It was running okay. It was good enough for the trip. But, man, it always felt like there was a dead spot in the carb. Like it wasn't quite right. And I'd always intended to get back to it, and then I blew it up. But it appears that I was actually lucky it blew up when it did. David sent both of us a video. The timing set. So there's, I believe they're like a 4mm head, but they're a cap screw, Allen head cap screw that holds the timing set to the cam. Basically, they were finger tight, and not even that. I mean, the whole timing set was just wobbling.
Yep.
Back and forth. So had I rode it another 10, 15 minutes, if that, it would have just completely come apart. And that's an interference motor.
Yeah.
So there would have been inside parts outside, and it just would have been bad. So maybe saving grace, it blew up the way it did.
Yep. But I'm looking forward to getting it back. When we get it back, I really, even though we mainly talk about UTVs, I want to do a video and kind of a walk around specifically of that machine.
Yeah, and from what I know you've done already, David, I can't say thank you enough. I mean, just thank you. I really appreciate your going all out for me, and man, just what a guy.
Yep.
I wish there were more like you in the world.
Yeah.
So I'll find out the full extent of this, and that'll kind of be fun too.
Agreed. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you get it back this weekend. So
yeah. So that's going on for me, which another big part of that is my daughter thinks she wants to race, and I'm not discouraging her. I just need her to ride for a while and make sure she understands what racing really is.
Yeah.
It's physical, it's tiring, and you have to push yourself.
It's abusive too. You're going to hurt. I mean, I'm not saying like you're going to break bones, but your wrist is going to be sore. You're going to get bumps and bruises, and it is what it is.
You're going to have to deal with arm pump. You're going to have to, there's all sorts of things that happen during a race, and you just got to shake it off and keep going if you want to be competitive. So, and she's got the kind of determination that lends itself to that. She really does. But I need to put her on it and just be like, you need to ride hard for a half hour and see how you feel. And I mean, ride hard, push.
Yeah.
She doesn't know a whole lot about riding right now, so like I can keep up with her on a utility quad but I can push her too. I can stay kind of on her and be like, you need to push, and not in a mean way, just to keep her at a pace where she's not lollygagging around. And then, okay, how did that feel? Is that something you want to do?
Anybody can ride hard for a minute or 2 minutes. I mean,
I've said it time and time again. That's what impresses me about the pros. It's not that they can ride fast, it's how long they can do it.
yeah.
When you see a pro that's out there for 90 minutes plus a lap and their last lap is as fast, if not faster, and everybody else's lap times are just tumbling.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the difference.
it's unreal. It's hard to do. So I'm excited to get that back for that reason as well. If she really wants to do it, if she's convinced, then I'm going to be looking into a youth quad, probably like a 250 for her. And we'll practice the heck out of it, and then we'll stick her in a couple races next year.
Yep. That'll be good. It's a good thing to get into, any kid. I mean, teaches good things.
Absolutely. The big thing is sportsmanship, and that's what I really hope. She's wired that way anyways, but that's the big thing I want her to take away is you push hard, you run hard, but you're considerate of others, and you look out for others.
Yeah. So we said we were going to get back to it. The MWXC race from last weekend. Now, I was out of town, but I will say...
Relaxing by the pool.
No, I wasn't. At the time the race started, and I made sure I planned my day around this. This is how much I actually enjoy racing. I was watching the live scoring live and was constantly refreshing the page to see.
You were, because I had no signal.
Yeah.
But Steve's wife did.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, Chad's on it. Like, she's like, I'm watching it live here, and 3 seconds later, there's a message. Oh, he should be out in front right now. Wait, the lap times are all messed up. What happened?
Yeah, I'm watching lap times, and all of a sudden they're off. So anyway, let's get to the track. We talked about it as Parker's Paradise.
Parker's Paradise is named that because the property is beautiful. It's always an unfettered nightmare as an MWXC race.
The series is too big for that property anymore.
The series is too big, and there's always something that happens. Now, this is the first year out of the 4 previous years, there's always been a medevac there.
Was there not?
There was not one this year.
Was it the race before?
Well, there was a girl had to be taken out in an ambulance, and I believe they medevaced her from a hospital, but no helicopter landed at the race.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought there was.
That was bad. She so there was a boat, like just think a 14-foot, John boat or rowboat buried as a jump.
Yeah.
She hit it funny, and then she basically came down and did an endo on the front wheels and had no time to recover, and it threw her into a tree lengthwise, like right down her spine.
Yeah.
She was instantly bruised from her neck to her butt crack. I mean, when it bruises that quick,
yeah,
it's bad. And they couldn't really get a feel for what exactly was wrong because she was just flat screaming.
Yeah.
She was in so much pain.
That's
so
rough.
We're hoping, I haven't really seen updates on that because I haven't been around the internet, so I'm hoping it was all just soft tissue damage and that, no,
there was some, I don't remember all of it, so I'm not going to quote wrong stuff. Several broken things, several surgeries.
Man.
And I heard she was not out of the hospital and they were waiting for things to heal up enough so they could continue doing surgeries.
I was really hopeful that was not the case. And again, I hate to be out of the loop, but I haven't had internet access till today, and work was a bear. The only reason I went to work today is because we had a huge cutover we had to do. So I haven't caught up on a lot of the aftermath. I don't know if any family members are listening to this or not, but you guys are in my prayers. Wow. So I'm very sorry to hear that. So that was our horrific injury. There were some other minor ones, but it's just a tight track. There's always a lot going on. And it gets, because there's not a lot of length, it gets rutted out very quickly because you're just pounding it. So it was blazing hot. It was in the upper 90s, both temperature and humidity.
Yeah.
I was wet. I mean, I was wringing wet. My shirt was hanging wet on me. My arms look like I just poured water over them. I'm just soaking wet. And then you couple that with it's dry. So it's dusty.
Everything's sticking to you.
So every start, every row I call is throwing up a dust cloud that is just sticking to me.
Douglas the sugar cookie.
Yeah. I mean, I went home and I was just disgusting. I mean, I'd stay in the shower and it was just like black and brown at the base of my shower. I had to clean the shower out.
Yeah.
And so that was fun as it was. Tempers got a little heated as well. We had some people that almost... Well, one is basically not going to be invited back to that property at all, and we had a few other incidents break out.
Well, the one UTV driver will remain nameless. He is banned from racing there on that property ever again.
Yeah.
And basically, he's on thin ice with the whole series. If he keeps it up the way he's been going, he will not be racing with the series anymore.
Did you hear about one of the pro dirt bike
No,
riders?
I did not hear that one.
He ended up, I'm not going to mention any names, but he ended up not racing because he just left. But basically what had happened was his daughter was racing earlier in the day. This kid, who is only a second race, tried to go up a fairly steep hill, didn't make it, and something had happened to his quad or his dirt bike that he didn't realize. He had broken, I believe it was his rear or front brake cable, one of the two. Mm-hmm. So he's got diminished braking. Well, he comes back down that hill, and somebody else sent this racer's daughter up the hill. She ended up getting turned a little bit sideways, and he came right back into her. I mean, hard.
Yeah.
He wasn't being malicious. He was an inexperienced rider with a damaged bike.
It happens.
The father, who is a pro bike rider, ended up taking a 1-gallon jug of water they had, came up and just wailed this kid over the head with it.
Yeah, it's not cool.
No. And I understand being upset and it's your kid, but there was nothing malicious going on and there's no call to react that way. So he pulled out of the race, didn't even race. So the whole weekend kind of went that way. There were several...
The heat doesn't help.
No. There were several fights in the woods. Another one, a rider was mad because he thought a bystander was blocking part of the track, and he got into it with the said bystander, and then another 16-year-old who was a friend of the family came up and got into the racer's face and basically told him he was saying, I was just telling you don't need to disrespect my friends that way. Evidently there was a lot more obscenity to it than that. Pushed this kid over, like just shoved him. Now he admitted he was wrong. He's like, take my race, call the cops. He's like, whatever you need to do. He stood up and owned it. He's like, I was completely in the wrong and apologized, but still it was just that kind of weekend. A lot of people were hot-headed, and so that put a little bit of a damper on it. Moving into the UTV race.
Yeah.
That got messy in a hurry. It was a very short track to begin with. It was basically 3 miles.
Yeah, that's short. Super short for a UTV track.
After a reroute because of an overturned 900, it was about 1.5 miles.
Yeah, and that happened for what, like 2 laps?
2 laps, and then it went back to the normal track, and then it got rerouted again in basically the same spot. So for most of the race, the heavies and the pros were turning 4-minute laps.
Yeah. So I was watching lap times, and it's like all of a sudden a pack of them come through when they were turning 6-minute lap times, thereabouts. All of a sudden, they're turning 4-minute lap times. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Something has happened.
And so it was tight, and there wasn't a lot of room between buggies, which always makes things interesting. And again, some tempers got heated. One of the racers, again, we're just not going to mention names because it's not to point blame. It's just to report news at this point. Basically did not want to listen to the property owner who had taken his pickup truck out there and was blocking off the adjacent neighbor's property.
Yeah, one of the riders said, and I'll leave all names out of it, he said, I think I nearly hit their satellite dish.
Yeah. So they were really close.
They were in yards.
Well, Rex Parker, the property owner, took his pickup truck out there and was routing people and saying, no, you need to go this way. You need to go this way. Well, this particular racer evidently just gunned it, half spun it, almost hit the property owner and went out through the neighboring property anyways, which then prompted the property owner to come down and say he's out of the race, what we ended up doing was taking that. We let him finish the race. We took that lap away from him, which took him out of contention for anything.
Yeah.
But he can never race on that property again. The property owner will not let him back. Again, just a hot-headed decision that didn't need to happen that way.
Yep.
And so it was interesting. And then scoring was really difficult because we had racers that basically started back of the pack that got the reroute ahead of heavies and pros that were well further ahead of them, just not only by time differential, but just by speed, coming around before our pro leaders were coming around. And so it was a mess. And then the fact that we went from normal track to reroute, back to normal, back to reroute, trying to figure out where people actually were placed and assigning value to laps, like taking, basically all you could do was take lap times and go, the average of your longer laps was this, and the average of your shorter laps was this. So we're going to credit you 1 minute and 45 seconds because that's the average difference to make up for the fact that you ran a longer track than these other people did, and try and make some heads or tails of what in the heck happened.
Yeah, it sounded like a mess.
It was bad. We started at 5:30, 5:45, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And I don't think we had it scored until 7:15.
Yeah.
I mean, it was late.
It was bad. It's too small of a property to race UTVs on. It just is. There's no question about that.
It's absolutely beautiful, and we hate to say that it's too small, but it was a great property when the race series was 300 racers for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And that's just an AM and PM race for just quads now.
Yep.
So, but there's a lot of good parts about the track. There's a lot that the other racers liked. Dirt bikes seemed to kind of, other than tempers flaring, dirt bikes kind of went off without a hitch. And
well, they're narrower. They can zip through the tightness better.
Yeah. The quads did a number on the track, and they did comment that there wasn't a lot of track left, and they're looking forward to round 7 when they get the first go. But we had some legit pros out there that were turning some very, very impressive lap times, and really had some fun with it.
Yep.
Which is always good to see.
Yeah.
We had on quads, Austin Abney was out there, and he's usually 5 or 6 minutes ahead of the next rider, and this was no different.
Yeah.
He basically gets a 5-minute lead. He knows he's about 5 minutes ahead, and then I don't want to say he backs off, but he just doesn't have to push quite as hard. He just keeps that pace. He just kind of, all right, I don't have to kill my quad. I don't have to kill myself.
Yeah. I
just got to ride consistently from here on out, and I'll maintain that lead.
Yep. It's a good thing. It's a smart way to do it.
And then we had Johnny Gerard, who's from Massachusetts. I guess he's actually staying here in Indiana for the time being. But he showed up, and again, on bikes, he just 5.5 minutes out in front and running his own race, but said he had fun.
Yep. Well, I'm sure it's a different style of racing here than what he's used to, too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, it sounded like it was an interesting weekend.
It really was. It had Mike, who's the announcer from IXCR.
Uh-huh.
He actually came out. His son was racing bikes on Sunday. And so I saw him out there tooling around on, I can't remember. I think it was like a ruckus or something like that.
Yeah.
Pit riding, which we don't condone, but we happens. Do. But anyways, I got to talk to him for a little bit, and he's like, "Where's your canopy?" I said, I don't have a canopy. I don't have an easy up. He's like, I'm going to talk to Andy about that. He's like, that's not right as a fellow announcer. He's like, the announcer's local 135 says you have to have a minimum 10 by 10 canopy or something like that. So he got in Andy's ear about that, but it was kind of gratifying to talk to him and have him. He's, I don't really need like an ego boost, but I am new to this, and I'm curious what a more seasoned person thought. And he said, no, man, you're doing a great job. He said, I even took a few notes of some things you do that I like that I'll probably throw in my playbook. So
there you go.
Evidently, I'm not totally butchering this.
You don't suck completely bad.
No, there's 2 good things I did, evidently. A lot of other terrible ones. But it was honestly, it was still an overall good weekend, and I did see a lot of good sportsmanship. I did see a lot of people helping other people out, and so I don't want to make it sound like it was horrible and it was just a slugfest, but You could definitely tell with the heat and the exhaustion, people were kind of losing their tempers, but it was balanced out by people who just were giving and helpful. And, that's really my takeaway from the weekend was that despite all the adversity and the fact that everyone was miserable, you racers are just a great group of people.
Yep. Fully agree. So one more thing I wanted to get to, one more story, which I didn't even bother to put on the list. But last night, from when we're recording this, so it will have been 2 days ago, Travis Pastrana broke 3 world records doing jumps.
That dude is a machine.
He's just good.
Yeah. And the third one's the most impressive.
So everybody who didn't watch, first he did a jump over 50 cars. Now it's 50 cars that have been smashed and stacked. But it was still I think his first jump was 135 feet.
So these were recreations of Evel Knievel jumps, but on steroids.
He did not jump it on a dirt bike. He jumped it on a Indian that was a 750cc bike, weighed within just a couple pounds of what Evel Knievel's bike weighed, and had the same suspension travel. So it wasn't a long travel dirt bike or anything like that. It was 4 inches.
Yeah. That's what I always impressed me about Evel Knievel. Dude, he just blew himself up. You watch those landings.
Yeah.
Oh. So he was doing it on the same bike, basically.
Basically. Now, modern technology, Travis's bike had more power.
Sure.
And Travis had reworked suspension. I don't know if Evel's bikes had reworked suspension on them or not at the time. You would almost think he'd have to.
Most of his jumps, no. He really tried to keep things as stock as possible.
But Travis Pastrana did it in leather suit, the same as Evel.
Nice.
White leather dress boots, the same. He wanted it to be as accurate as possible.
And I love that.
And you know what? Every one of them he landed. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Evel Knievel and the jumps and everything that he did. Because I think he did, they said just over 100 jumps, like 111 or 112 jumps. And he actually only crashed I think it was 10 or 12 of them, whatever it was. Now, his crashes were bad. Don't get me wrong. But but Travis Pastrana did these 3 jumps that basically wrecked Evel. They were all ones that Evel didn't really make. He couldn't make these.
Right.
He did 3 of them in one evening. He did them 1 hour space between each one, made them all, and every one of them looked like effortless. None of them were up. The bike wasn't upset landing. He knew how to control that bike in the air. The only one that he had to stay on the throttle the whole way was the last jump. Well, I said, okay, he jumped the 50 cars, then he jumped 17 Greyhound buses.
Yes.
Now, these Greyhound buses are 5 inches wider and 5 inches taller than the other buses that Evel jumped, so it's actually more distance.
Yep.
So the first jump was 135 feet. The Greyhound bus jump was... one to say it's like 190. He had to
that
clear
sounds right, but I can't remember
170
it.
something, but he ended up jumping 190 something. And then the last jump, which was the Caesar's Palace fountain, I'm wanting to say that's actually 120 feet to clear it, but he cleared it by a good 40 feet or 30 feet.
But what makes that one impressive is he had half the run-up and half the landing area.
Of what Evel had, yes.
In
Because
part
they've
because
added on to
yeah.
the buildings and stuff like that.
There's more stuff there.
And he actually had to jump it backwards to even get enough run-up to do it. He had 200 feet. In 200 feet of run-up, he had to be going as 70 miles an hour was his target takeoff.
Yeah.
So in 200 feet, you have to go 70 miles an hour, and there's no abort place. If you're not getting it, you're crashing into the fountain, so you're better off to just try and sail it over it.
Pastrana's definitely a more skilled rider. I'm not going to take anything away from him at all. The other thing Evel had going against him was a lot of those ramps were crap.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you asked your toothless hillbilly brother-in-law to build you a ramp and he came out with some bent nails and some plywood and be like, that's good enough.
Yeah, Travis Pastrana has the best in the industry building his ramps and doing his stuff like that.
There's a lot more science that went into it rather than just a lot of Evel stuff was kind of eyeballed. Like, it looks about right.
Yeah.
There's a little more thought to it than that, but really not a whole lot. I mean, his whole thing was just, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
But Pastrana definitely understands. I mean, he's got a better knack for bike position and how
how to fly them.
Yeah, I mean, he's just an incredible rider, and so a lot of it's practice, but there's an element of you're just born with that or you're not.
Yeah, he's just good. He's just really good. So I
would have died.
I have Steve sending me messages last night because we were both watching it, but he was at his house and I was at mine, obviously, and he was saying before it started, he goes, "You may be the last person to interview Travis Pastrana on a podcast before he dies."
I really, really hope not, because I'd like to have him on again.
Yeah, no, Travis Pastrana did great. He did interviews between the jumps. He was hanging out talking with his family. It's not like he just went back to a trailer and, was trying to focus again. He was out talking to people.
He likes people.
Yeah. He is the most... I got to meet the guy when we were in Brimstone, and I cannot stress this enough. He is the most down-to-earth, normal guy you would ever want to meet. Just an awesome guy.
You're the worst barometer for a normal person. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying.
Well, he's not normal, obviously.
Gauge.
But I mean, he is so much. He is so much not a has the all-star mentality or anything like that.
He does this sport because he loves the sport and he likes interacting with other people that love the sport.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect match. He just happens to be ridiculously skilled at it.
One of the interviewers said it's basically Travis Pastrana is a giant nerd with amazing skills who grew up and stayed the giant nerd.
Yep.
He didn't. I mean, that's kind of what he is. He's a big goof and he's just awesome like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to throw that in there because it's really new. If for some reason you guys were living under a rock for the last few days,
go watch it.
Go watch it.
Totally worth it.
Even the History Channel put it out because that's who it was aired through. But they have just clips of each individual jump you can go watch, and they're great. He did an amazing job. He's a great showman. He's a great ambassador for the sport.
We don't talk for a week. We go on vacation, come back. We didn't even cover half the stuff on the list.
No.
It's trivia time.
It is. And we're going to have to skip stupid stuff with Chad because we will not make it. It is what it is. I'm sorry.
I was worried about doing a second show this week because obviously we have to release next Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
That's not going to be an issue.
Not going to be an issue. I can come up with stuff to talk about all night long.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Let me pull up your trivia, sir. Okay.
Oh, boy.
We have write-ins.
Oh, boy.
Not from one person, from two.
I'm game.
Okay.
I can fail at anything.
First two are from Fuzzy.
Of course.
How many docking ports does the International Space Station have?
I don't know. Judging by the shape of it, I'd go 4.
6.
6.
You were close.
I mean, close.
Well, you didn't say 12 or 50 or 100.
Or 1, or,
Yeah. Reasonably close. Okay. Same. About the International Space Station, what is the solar panel wingspan? Like, how long is the array of solar panels?
You would know this, Fuzzy.
Yes, he would.
160 feet.
240 feet.
Wow.
It's long.
That's
a lot of solar panels.
Yeah, it is.
I told Fuzzy, he sent me these today, and I said, I love these questions only because Doug hates them.
But I always learn something, so now I know.
You don't hate them. It's just you never get them right because he knows all this obscure knowledge about space stuff.
Yes, he does.
Nothing against you. It's just he knows this.
The best kind of friends are the ones that have completely non-overlapping knowledge that you're like, I don't need to know that because you know that and I can ask you. But the amazing thing about that is 240 feet of solar panels. A lot of the inefficiency in solar panels comes from the atmosphere. The atmosphere is constantly straining it out.
Yeah.
So there's
producing none of that.
They're producing some real juice up there.
Yeah, they are. They're welding. Probably not, but okay. Question number 3. These are me. I'll let you know when we get to the other write-in.
Okay.
You'll probably know they're me.
It won't be about cow farts.
Question number 3. What Midwestern U.S. city was garnered with the nickname Porkopolis in the 19th century?
Porkopolis?
I love this question.
I don't.
It's a city you know of. I mean,
Akron, Ohio.
Cincinnati. You're in the right state.
I was in the right state. I figured it had to be Ohio, but okay, why?
They were just really good at barbecue stuff. So they...
Oh, okay. I can do it. I was trying to decide if it meant like Porkopolis is in barbecue or the worst bills in Congress, like that had a whole bunch of just junk crammed in there that nobody needed.
No, it was barbecue stuff. Okay.
Nice.
Question number 4. Which U.S. state is nicknamed the Evergreen State?
Minnesota?
No, Washington.
What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have a lot of evergreens, obviously.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
You go there, there's no evergreen trees at all. It's because we wish we had them.
Yes. They're
Washington State. I've never heard it called that. I've heard other nicknames, but that's a new one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Question number 5. How many pairs of chromosomes are in each human cell?
23.
Correct. That means you don't have an extra one.
I almost said 24 just so you could make a joke about it.
Oh, I'll make that joke anyway. If you would have got that wrong, you were definitely going to get the 24 joke.
I'm pretty
Go
sure
look that up, kids, if you're curious what that means.
I'm pretty sure you only have 22.
22 and a half.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Question number 6. Eric Burton was the frontman of what 2 bands in the 1960s? This is your music trivia. I was thinking of you, actually.
You were. I'm going to plead total ignorance.
You don't know?
I really legitimately don't.
You know, I'm sure you've heard both these bands. The Animals and War.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'm listening to songs in my head right now, and I can totally hear it.
It's him.
But I never would have.
You wouldn't have put those 2 together, would you?
Well, I knew I should have said the Animals, but I was like, well, I didn't know he was in 2 bands, so I was like, it can't be right because I don't know the second band. I didn't think he was in one.
But when you think about the songs that those 2 bands
I had no idea he fronted War. Oh, that's crazy. I like that one.
Now you're going to go listen to some of those songs and compare the lead vocal, aren't you? Yep. I thought about you.
But I was going to say the Animals. I'm like, no, because it's the only band he was in. There you go.
He was in 2. I wouldn't do that to you.
Okay.
I might do that to you, but I didn't do that to you. All right. Question number 7, and this one is from Steve. The Titanic, and you might know this one. This is why I put this in. So.
It was a boat. Next question.
No, that is not the question. The Titanic sent 2 distress calls when they hit the iceberg. What were they?
I think they started off sending SOS and then they switched to CQD or possibly the other way.
You are correct. They did start with SOS and then CQD. Explain to the fine people what CQD is.
So there's a bunch of shorthand codes for Morse code because you have to send one letter at a time, and in an emergency especially you don't have a lot of time, so think of it like shorthand writing.
Help, I
just hit an iceberg. Yeah, that would take a while.
And then you misspell it.
Yeah, what's an iceberg? So CQ is shorthand for calling for, because it's kind of a cute, like, I'm seeking you. That's why it's that. And D stood for disaster. So calling disaster.
Over all channels. I mean, anyone who's listening.
Who's listening. SOS was relatively new at the time.
Correct.
Like, it was the newfangled thing. So they started sending SOS, and when nobody was coming to help them, they switched over to CQD. Like, maybe nobody knows what SOS means. And I've mentioned this before. SOS doesn't mean anything. It just stands out in a transmission because it's dit dot 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 dit dit dit. It's really easy to pick out when you're listening. Yeah. And so SOS actually doesn't stand for anything. It was just picked because you could quickly identify it in a transmission.
Unlike the common thing that everyone thinks this means save our souls or
save our ship or something. People assign value to it afterwards. It literally is just because it's easy to hear.
Yep. So you got one right. Very good.
As a radio nerd, that one would have really hurt if I didn't.
Okay. Now, Steve has a bonus question, so you actually have a chance to get an extra one right.
Oh, I thought a chance to be wrong.
Well, you do have that also.
Okay.
Name all the military phonetic alphabet. Doug's a radio guy, so he knows this. just hitting it.
I just have to run through it.
Yep, that's all you got to do.
I'm probably going to screw up at least one of these, but
Tell you what, I'll give you grace on 2. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
I believe it's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf. H is Hotel. I is Indigo. J is Juliet. K is Kilo or Kilowatt, depending on which one you use. It's Kilo in the military, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yep.
L is Lima. H-I-J-K-L. Sorry, I got to run through these in my head. M is... What's M? Why am I blanking on M all of a sudden? It's something...
Yes, it is.
Man, I'm blanking on that all of a sudden, what M is. Let me come back to that one.
Okay. N?
N is November.
Uh-huh. O?
And O is Oscar.
Okay. P?
Papa.
Q?
Queen.
R?
Romeo.
S?
Sierra.
T?
Tango.
U?
Uniform.
V?
Victor.
W?
Whiskey.
X?
X-ray.
Y?
Something with a Y.
You're not going to guess? You want to come back to it?
Y is... I can't remember Y either. I'm blanking.
Z?
I'll come back to it. Zulu.
Okay, and
So M is Mary. Y is... I can't remember what Y is. I'm blanking on it for some reason.
Gonna pass?
Yeah, I'll know it when I be duh.
I'm gonna tell you didn't get it even if you would have gotten Y. So what you got wrong was I. You said was indigo. It's actually India.
India. Okay.
You got that wrong. L, or no, you got L right. M is Mike.
Mike. Oh gosh, yeah. Duh.
Which other one did you get wrong? I should have paid attention. Did you get Juliet for J?
Yep.
Okay. I'll read through them. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa. Was Papa? Did you get that right?
I got that right.
Okay. Quebec. That's what you got wrong.
Quebec. Okay.
Yeah. You said something else. I don't remember what you said.
Hams use Queen a lot instead of Quebec.
It's Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-ray, Yankee, Zulu.
Yep. I knew it was Yankee. I just tip of my tongue.
Couldn't.
When I'm operating, I can just rattle them off. When I have to actually think of it like an alphabet, it's like out of context. But hams invert, like they use a fairly standard phonetic that's almost exactly like that.
Yeah.
But it's what I hear more often. Like no one says Quebec, everyone says Queen.
Yeah.
And they never say Sierra, or they very rarely do. They say sugar a lot for some reason.
Really?
Don't know why.
Okay.
Go figure that one out. Close.
You'd still missed your 2, Grace.
I know. That's fine.
Whatever. Okay. Number 8.
Trying to translate from ham to military.
Number 8. Who performed the Bond theme song, Die Another Day? So this is kind of in your wheelhouse. You're a James Bond fan and a music-y person.
I am. Man, I haven't seen that in so long, though. I'll bet you it's been 15 years since, because Die Another Day really wasn't that good of a movie.
No, it wasn't.
It was Pierce Brosnan era.
Yeah.
So,
GoldenEye was the only one that was decent.
Oh, wasn't it, was it Chris Cornell?
Nope.
Who was it?
Madonna.
Wasn't there another one that...
Yeah, some guy did it.
It was one of the other ones. Okay,
Yeah.
Madonna did that one?
Yeah.
Ugh. It just made the movie that much worse.
Cemented the crapness.
I watched James Bond like all the way up to Pierce Brosnan, and I can like every once in a while I refresh my memory, but I'll bet you it's been 15 years since I've seen that.
GoldenEye was okay.
It was okay.
I'm not saying it was great, but it was like, okay, you know, it fits in the Bond things. After that, they were stupid, the ones he was in.
Well, the problem is he played it like he was still Remington Steele. Like it was the same character. He just...
Yeah.
Bleh.
Daniel Craig did great though. I thought
Oh, he was phenomenal.
he was.
He
Great.
got all the the subtle humor and
The
then
quips.
the quips, but then he had the dark side to him. Like Pierce Brosnan, you never bought him as having like a serious side.
No.
And yeah, Craig just nailed it.
Yep. Anyway, moving on because we're running long on time already.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Trundling onward.
Question number 9. What year did Frank's Red Hot sauce appear on the market? I love Frank's Red Hot sauce.
Oh yeah.
My wife never buys it though.
I don't know, so I'll take a wild stab. Oh, that would have been during the Great Depression. That probably was not a good time. 1947.
1920.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So just after World War II.
Yeah.
Or one, sorry.
One, yes.
That one.
Yep.
Huh.
It's old.
I didn't think it was that old. I thought it was post World War II. My first thought was 1937. I'm like, they probably didn't release it during the Great Depression. Here's a new product for you people without money.
New hot sauces. Okay, question number 10. What is the lowest point in the United States?
Like elevation? I'm
Yes,
assuming.
elevation. I'm sorry.
Income. Sardis, Mississippi. I would think it's New Orleans.
No, sir.
No?
No, sir. Death Valley, California.
Oh, yeah.
It is 282 feet below sea level.
Wow. I didn't think it was that low.
Yep.
Crazy.
New Orleans it's below sea level, but it's like, depending where you are, between 2 and 4 feet below sea level.
Okay.
282 feet below sea level.
That is crazy. I didn't realize it was that low.
That's a hole in the ground.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
Holds all the heat in, evidently.
Yeah. So, look at this. Because of that last question, we've ended on a low point.
Thanks, sponsors, for sponsoring yet another show. I suppose I should say thank you to them, even though they're probably wondering why they're sponsoring right now. But we appreciate it. Watch Communications, as always, thank you for hosting the podcast and the website. You can find Watch Communications at watchcom.net. And the code is still good if you're looking for web hosting. It's Waste of Time, no spaces, all lowercase. We'll get you 10% off your first month.
Yep.
Also want to say a big thank you to TGM Offroad, UTV-doors.com, UTV Engineering, Harrison Power Sports, CW Motorsports, and Spanx Fab. You can find us on the web at www.eminentperformance.com. You can find us on Facebook /Eminent Racing, on Instagram at Eminent Racing. And you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and the video version on our YouTube channel.
There you go. Lots going on there.
And no matter what your lowest point is, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Deep